What if everything you want in life, success, discipline, confidence, peace, isn't actually far away? What if it's just 1% away? Think about it. People chase massive goals, huge transformations, overnight breakthroughs. But Kaizen whispers a different truth. Small daily improvements create the greatest lifetime results. And here's the part no one tells you. You don't fail because your dreams are too big. You fail because your daily steps are too big. Your mind resists what feels overwhelming, but it thrives on what feels possible. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you something powerful. How the 1% rule quietly rewires your brain, how it reshapes your habits without resistance, and how it can rebuild your entire life, not through force, but through flow. And trust me, once you understand how simple it truly is, you'll never look at self-improvement the same way again. Welcome to Kaizen Mind Mastery, where transformation doesn't start with greatness. It starts with 1%. What is Kaizen? Let's start with something simple and something powerful. Kaizen, a word that looks small but carries an entire philosophy of transformation inside it. Kaizen means continuous improvement through small, consistent actions. Not dramatic breakthroughs, not overnight change, not all or nothing away, just 1% better, day after day. But here's the twist most people never realize. We live in a world obsessed with huge leaps. Everyone wants massive success, instantly. We celebrate big wins, big moments, big transformations. No one celebrates the person who simply showed up today, who improved by just a tiny amount, who took one small step forward. But Kaizen builds its entire philosophy on that person, because Japan discovered something the modern world forgets. Greatness is rarely loud, mastery is rarely sudden, and real change is almost always the result of small steps multiplied over time. Kaizen started as a Japanese work principle, yes, but it didn't stay there. Over decades, it evolved into one of the world's most respected self-discipline systems, used not only by corporations, but by athletes, creators, entrepreneurs, and anyone who wants to upgrade their life without burning out. And here's what makes Kaizen different from every other self-improvement method. You don't need motivation. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to change your entire life overnight. You just need to start with something so small that failure becomes almost impossible. And in the next section, you'll understand why small changes work better than big ones, and not just psychologically, but biologically. Get ready for a mindset shift you'll never forget. Why 1% works, the science behind micro-progress. Let's talk about the part that most people underestimate. The part that makes the 1% Kaizen rule almost unstoppable. Because if you understand why it works, you'll never again try to change your life with overwhelming, unrealistic goals. 1. Cognitive load theory. Your brain loves small. Here's something powerful. Your brain is not wired for massive change. It resists anything that feels heavy, complicated, or unfamiliar. That's why you can say, I'll wake up at 5 a.m. I'll quit sugar. I'll study 3 hours every day. And yet, 3 days later, everything collapses, not because you're weak, but because your cognitive load, your brain's processing capacity, gets overwhelmed. Small tasks bypass this resistance. When something feels tiny, your brain says, okay, this is easy. Let's do it. That's why 1% works. Not because it's magical, but because it's neurologically intelligent. 2. Dopamine and micro wins. Why tiny victories keep you going? People think motivation comes from huge achievements. But neuroscience tells a different story. Real sustainable motivation comes from micro wins. Each tiny action you complete triggers a small dopamine release. Not huge, small. But here's the trick. Small doses are repeatable. Big doses are not. This means your brain starts associating progress with pleasure, not pressure. And once that happens, consistency becomes almost automatic. So, Kaizen isn't just a philosophy, it's biology. 3. The compounding effect, the part that changes everything. Now let's talk numbers. This is the moment where people finally get it. If you improve by just 1% a day, you don't become 365% better in a year. You become 37 times better. Not 37%, 37 times. Compounding turns tiny steps into exponential transformation. One small improvement today makes tomorrow's improvement slightly easier, which makes the next improvement even easier, and the cycle grows on itself. This is how people change their finances, their discipline, their fitness, their confidence, not through huge breakthroughs, but through daily micro-progress that multiplies. And here's the most important line of this entire video. Your brain doesn't need a new life. It needs a small daily win. And in the next part, I'll show you exactly how to create those wins, even if you're busy, unmotivated, or starting from zero. Let me tell you a story, not about a superhero, not about someone with extraordinary talent, but about someone who feels exactly like you, someone who once tried to change their life all at once and failed. Meet Daniel. Daniel had big dreams. He wanted to get fit, start a side business, wake up early, and finally feel in control of his life. But every Monday, he would sit down with a long list of goals. And every Friday, he would feel defeated. Why? Because he tried to change everything at once. He went from 0 to 100 overnight and burned out by Wednesday. Now maybe you've been there too, trying to overhaul your whole life in one big push, only to fall back into the same habits because the change was too heavy to carry. One day, Daniel heard something simple. Don't change your life. Change your next action by just 1%. And he tried it. Instead of a full workout, he did 5 minutes. Instead of writing a full chapter, he wrote 1 paragraph. Instead of waking up 2 hours early, he started with 5 minutes. Tiny, almost laughably tiny. But here's what happened. The 5-minute workout became a 10-minute routine. 1 paragraph turned into a daily writing habit. 5 minutes earlier, waking up became 30 minutes earlier within a month. And for the first time in years, he didn't quit. He didn't burn out. He didn't feel overwhelmed because he wasn't chasing perfection. He was chasing progress. After a few weeks, something surprising happened. His energy increased. His confidence returned. His stress dropped. His self-respect grew. Not because he became someone new, but because he finally proved to himself that he could be consistent. Small doesn't mean weak. Small means sustainable. And sustainable is what actually transforms your life. And here's the best part. Daniel's transformation didn't come from motivation. It came from momentum. Momentum created by the 1% rule. In the next section, I'll show you exactly how to create that same momentum in your life, starting today, and even if you feel stuck, tired, or overwhelmed. How to apply the 1% rule today. Start small, stay consistent, change everything. Now that you understand why the 1% rule works, it's time for the part everyone waits for. How do you actually use it in real life? And here's the good news. You don't need motivation. You don't need discipline. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You just need one tiny action done every day. Let me walk you through this step by step. Step 1, choose one micro habit, not 5, not 10, just 1. A micro habit is something so small your brain cannot reject it. Examples: 1 push-up a day, read 1 page a day, meditate for just 1 minute, write 1 sentence, drink 1 extra cup of water. Small enough to start, small enough to stick, small enough to grow. Remember, the purpose is not to improve your life today, but to open the door for improvement every day. Step 2, attach it to a daily trigger. A habit without a trigger is like a seed thrown in the wind. You need a consistent anchor. Choose something you do every single day, right after waking up, before taking a shower, after brushing your teeth, right before bed, when you sit at your desk. Your micro habit becomes automatic because it has a location in your routine. This is how Kaizen turns effort into rhythm and rhythm into identity. Step 3, track consistency, not perfection. This is where most people fail. They chase results instead of repetition. Kaizen says the opposite. Consistency builds identity. Identity builds improvement. So rather than tracking how many pages you read, track whether you showed up. A simple check mark on a calendar is enough. You are not building the skill yet. You are building the habit of showing up. And that changes everything. Step 4, celebrate every micro win. This may sound small, but celebrating your tiny wins is how you rewire your brain. Every time you acknowledge a micro success, dopamine fires. Dopamine makes you want to repeat the action. Repetition strengthens the identity. Identity creates long-term discipline. So pause and say, nice, I did my 1% today. I kept the promise I made to myself. You are teaching your brain that you are someone who grows daily, and once your identity shifts, your life follows. And now, we're ready to go even deeper, because in the next part, you'll discover something powerful. It's not the habit that changes your life. It's the identity that grows behind that habit. Get ready. We're about to unlock the psychology of becoming the kind of person who naturally improves, naturally grows, and naturally succeeds. The identity shift. Become the 1% better version of you. Here's where Kaizen becomes more than a strategy. It becomes your new identity. Most people try to change their lives by forcing big actions. Tomorrow, I'll wake up early. Next week, I'll start working out. Next month, I'll launch that business. But Kaizen teaches something radically different. You don't achieve success. You grow into the kind of person who creates it. This is the moment you stop asking, how do I get motivated? And start asking, who am I becoming through my actions? Because every tiny habit you build is not just a task, it's a vote for your future identity. Success is not something you chase down the road. It's something you attract by becoming then the person who naturally behaves that way. When you take a 1-minute walk, when you read just one page, when you tidy up for 30 seconds, you're not just improving your life. You're proving to yourself that you are someone who improves. And identity is powerful. Your brain will fight a goal, but it will defend an identity. Now, say them silently while watching. I am someone who improves daily. It doesn't matter how small the improvement is. Kaizen says the direction matters more than the speed. I keep promises to myself. Trust is built through tiny consistency. Every time you follow through, even for 30 seconds, you rebuild that trust. I don't need a big win. I need a small one today. This is how discipline becomes effortless, not forced. How small actions rebuild self-belief. Think of self-belief like a muscle. You don't lift heavy on day one. You start with something your body can handle. Then the weight grows as you grow. The 1% rule works exactly the same way. Every tiny action whispers to your brain, you can do this. You follow through. You are changing. And over days, this whisper becomes your inner voice. Over weeks, it becomes your mindset. Over months, it becomes the new you. And just wait. In the next section, we'll talk about the Kaizen-proof method to keep this identity strong even on bad days, because consistency is not about perfection. It's about resilience. Ready? Let's move into the next chapter and build the habits that stick even when motivation disappears. Common traps that destroy progress. Perfectionism is the enemy of Kaizen. You're learning the 1% rule. You're building small wins. But now, one of the most critical points comes, why do so many people lose momentum even after starting strong? Because they fall into traps that silently kill progress. Let's uncover the ones you must avoid. 1. The perfectionism trap. All or nothing. Thinking. This is the biggest killer of progress. You miss one day, you think you failed, you quit. Kaizen says the opposite. You are allowed to be imperfect. You are not allowed to quit. Success isn't built on flawless streaks. It's built on restarts. Tell your audience, if you missed a day, congratulations, you're human, now continue. 2. Setting unrealistic goals. Small progress collapses when you pair it with giant expectations. People say, I'll meditate for 1 minute, then suddenly want Okay, maybe 20 minutes. And boom, resistance returns. Kaizen teaches master 1 minute before dreaming of 20. Master 1 push-up before dreaming of 50. Small is not weakness, small is strategy. 3. Tracking too many changes at once. This mistake burns people out faster than any failure. If you try to improve 10 things at once, you improve nothing. Kaizen rule: 1 improvement at a time, 1 micro habit, 1 daily trigger, 1 identity shift. Once it becomes effortless, then add the next one. Simplicity is progress. 4. Emotional burnout from forced discipline. Here's the truth nobody says: willpower is not a Kaizen skill. Consistency is. If your discipline exhausts you, it's not discipline, it's punishment. Kaizen is gentle, flexible, sustainable, not military self-torture. Reframe. Imperfection is part of Kaizen. Kaizen isn't about perfection. Kaizen is about direction. You're not trying to be perfect today. You're trying to be 1% better tomorrow. The 7-Day Kaizen Challenge, your first real step, starts today. Now you understand the philosophy. You understand the science. You even understand how your identity begins to shift. But none of that matters unless you take the first real step. That's why I want to give you a simple, powerful, and life-changing plan: the 7-Day Kaizen Challenge. Not 30 days, not 90 days, just 7 days. Because when you see how much your life can shift in only 1 week, your brain finally realizes, yes, I can actually do this. So here's your challenge. 7 days, 7 micro improvements, 7 identity upgrades. Day 1. Improve your space by 1%. Clean 1 corner, organize 1 drawer. Throw away 1 unnecessary item. Your environment shapes your mind. Start here. Day 2. Improve your body by 1%. 1 push-up, 1 stretch, 1 minute walk. Small movement, big identity shift. Day 3. Improve your mind by 1%. Read 1 page. Watch something educational. Learn a single new idea. Your mind grows the moment you feed it something meaningful. Day 4. Improve your work by 1%. Answer 1 difficult email, plan 1 small task, fix 1 inefficiency. Kaizen at work builds long-term confidence. Day 5. Improve your habits by 1%. Choose 1 micro habit and repeat it today again. Repetition equals identity. Day 6. Improve your environment by 1%. Change something around you. A new wallpaper, a cleaner desk, a tiny decoration. Micro shifts lead to macro energy. Day 7. Improve your identity by 1%. Repeat the identity phrases out loud. I improve daily. I keep promises to myself and choose 1 habit you will continue for the next 30 days. Because Kaizen isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming consistent. Now it's your turn. Your 1% starts today. Comment below and tell me, which micro habit will you start today? 1 push-up, 1 page, 1 minute meditation, or something unique to your life? Your comment might inspire someone else to finally start. Your journey has already begun. 1% and rising. Take 1 breath. Let everything you've learned in the last 20 minutes settle for a moment. Because here's the truth. You don't need a new year. You don't need a miracle. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need 1% today. 1 tiny action, 1 small win, 1 choice that says, I'm becoming the next version of me. And the rest, it compounds, it multiplies, it transforms everything. This is the heart of Kaizen. You don't try to rebuild your life in a single day. You transform 1 day by 1% and let it rebuild your life. And if you're watching this right now, you already made the first move. Don't forget, like video. If you want to continue this journey of daily improvement, mind, body, discipline, identity, then you belong here. Subscribe to Kaizen Mind Mastery, the home of daily growth, the home of small steps with massive impact, the home of people who refuse to stay the same. Together, we grow 1% at a time. Your new beginning starts now, and I'm honored to walk this path with you.